Hi, welcome back to the Jac and Glen channel. I'm Jackie.
I'm her husband, Glenn.
He's my husband, Glen. Hey.
Hey, before we get started with this interview, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of our interviews or our reviews. Today we have on Tressa from Ready to Love Season 4, Houston. Tressa, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. I am glad to be here.
No problem. We're glad to have you here.
Yes.
We're excited. Wanted to have this interview for a while, since you've been eliminated, but we thank you that you're excited. You accept our invitation. And, we want to hop into it. Who is Tressa? We saw you on the show, but before you even get to this, we get to the show. Who is Tressa?
Tell us about Tressa.
Man, who is Tressa? I'm a mother of one grown child. She's 21. If you see me out, you usually see her with me. So we're out and about. I have been in the hair and beauty industry over 20 years. And so I co-founded Marcella Ellis Pro Corporation. So that is our cosmetology school where we have trainings in over 100 locations nationwide. School's been open since 1999, teaching extensions, braiding, wig making. And then from that, we have developed our hair products, 2 different lines, vegan products, of course, too. Um, and we both represent over 50 years in the hair and beauty industry. So we have a signature hairline for hair extensions for hair types 1 and 2, and then the Grow Me hairline by Marcella Ellis, which is for types 3 and 4. So typically more African American hair with that, more of a tight coil and, different patterns in the 3 and 4, lots of moisture and all of that. So what else? I'm a comedian, been doing stand-up for 7 years. I host, I produce, I'm a showrunner. I manage another comedian that's been doing comedy for 20 years, Keisha Hunt, manage her bookings too. Um, Family-oriented person, spiritual person. I'm real, I'm down to earth, and I'm very driven and ambitious and I attract people who are the same, you know. So yeah, that's me. And you got a whole little synopsis.
In
Yeah.
other words, you're a boss. You see, you got
I'm
your
a
hands in a lot
boss.
of things, and
Yeah,
that you're a
I'm a
boss.
boss.
That you're a boss. That you are a very
Yeah,
entrepreneur spirit. That you have a mindset to help others and to achieve what you want to achieve yourself.
absolutely, absolutely. And I throughout me owning, co-owning companies or what have you, I have like I don't know, I would consider myself like a customer service and a sales expert and train teams of major companies around that are known to the nation big of the telemarketing telecommunications companies and have held down those jobs as a training manager. So I don't know, I'm just that person that I help others to succeed too and open businesses and or in the past when I worked for other companies, I'm gonna help you, make the most money you ever had in your life, and train in that like using psychology and stuff like that. So all my background has helped me with lots of different things that I have had a chance and been blessed to be a part of. So yeah, I'm a
See
lot of
that?
stuff.
Yeah, and
I'm
that's
a
why
lot of
we
stuff.
like doing these interviews because we don't get to obviously. I mean, the show is
Yeah.
not about that, but we don't get to hear all of this about the
Mm-hmm.
contestants. All the depth that comes with them. We just know they're on a relationship show.
Mm-hmm.
We might hear one thing that you all do, and it's like, oh wow, no, she's a lot. She does a
Mm-hmm.
lot. It's just awesome to hear because
Yeah,
we just knew you as, oh, she's a comedian. And
Right.
then you're like, oh no, 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 no. I do this, I do that, I do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which
That's a small
which
part
make
of my life, really. It's a big part of my social life. And my friends are all comedians,
Mhm.
primarily the people I'm closest to. I mean, besides my friends from back home in Chicago, so I'll
right.
always have those friends, but we don't live in the same place. But comedy is only 7 years of my life, you know.
Right.
I've been doing hair. I was doing hair illegally back when I was 10 years old.
I know
I
that's
could do,
right.
I could do a
I
full
know
sew
that's
in by 12 and sew that whole hair in, and it should have been worth $500, but I'm charging $50 because I'm 12. You know.
Right.
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 So yeah, that the hair industry is the bigger part of who my name means hair. Tressa means
Right.
long locks of hair.
Yeah,
So just kind of
dresses. Yeah.
and I'm named after my aunt, so I'm the second Tressa in the family actually.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
So why do you think they use the narrative out of all the things that you do? Why was the comedian thing such a thing that they wanted to describe you by? Because that's what we talked to some other people that they had different professions, but they chose this one
Hmm.
to create their narrative per
Yeah,
se.
and they did say it did say comedian slash entrepreneur. It
Yeah.
did.
Hmm.
But I don't know. They expected the comedian to come on. Not they, but I mean like viewers, like people that are watching, they expect that person to be, the comedy relief and probably, the messy person or whatever. But that's just a part of me, and I'm vegan too, so we ain't really talk about that too. So I've been following a vegan diet for a while, like completely for my health, health reasons, and I'm a big advocate on transitioning to the vegan diet and to live long, because half of my family died by 55. So I'm
Oh
very
wow.
Mm.
passionate about it, in the terms of health. I don't talk about it in terms of saving animals or anything. It's more so the preservation of African Americans and our people and just eating right. But it's a one day at a time type of thing. So all of that stuff just wasn't explored. And like you said, it wasn't about that. It was supposed to be about finding finding something real.
Stay on the vegan thing for a minute. Um, I know you mentioned your family members dying at age 55. Is that one of the true major factors that made you become vegan? And how long have you became? How long have you been a vegan?
It
On your
was
track.
it was it was the factor. It was the
Hmm.
factor. Um I did end up losing 65 pounds. So that
Hmm.
if I post that, people do pay attention because of that. Or people around me were like, okay, because a lot of people need to see something, you know,
Hmm.
Right.
or they need to see like the change in your skin, when your skin starts to change and starts to glow, and they can start to tell, but that's just how they process things. They need to see it. But there was this documentary called What the Health, and it
Hmm.
and it was on Netflix. So I don't know where it is now. It might parts of it might be on YouTube. But What the Health, man, that changed my whole life. And they were talking about how like uh these pork farms, these pig farms that they have, how the runoff from like the feces was, it goes, in the actual water system, and then they take that and like spray it back out on the crops in North Carolina. And then so a lot of the people in North Carolina that are living around these pig farms, they all have diseases,
Mm.
asthma, cancers, all these different things, and just finding out how their stuff is processed, or how they'll, take these animals that they may have cancer or disease or whatever, and they'll lance that part off and give them some antibiotics, but we still were eating that, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and then they just pointed out, just the diabetes association knows that red meat is going to be, if you consume it and you already you have diabetes kind of running your family, or just based on your diet, that you run a higher risk of getting it. And they would have these recipes with meat on their on website. And so they were like, really, like, this documentary, they were in their face. They were actually going to some of these organizations and just really showing how there's all these fast food places in the African American communities, and it costs, you could feed a whole entire family of five with $15 at McDonald's. But if we
Mm-hmm.
talk
Hmm.
about actual, like, even like a canister of fruit of watermelon, it'd be like not 10.99. That's just fruit. You
Mm-hmm.
can't feed the whole family with just fruit. So,
Right.
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 just things are disparaging in our health and things like that. So, it takes a lot to learn how to eat properly and make some of the things yourself when you're vegan, and use food processors so that you're not buying prepackaged foods, which that is more expensive. So just, just trying to help people transition into it because there's so many excuses not to do it. And, so I'm trying to help you give some tips and kind of so people can take some baby steps. I did the whole vegan thing cold turkey August 17th, 2017
Okay.
from watching that documentary. I was so angry, so
Like,
angry.
right. Right.
Was it a
Mm-mm-mm.
struggle? I mean, growing up, being a heavier woman, I know growing up, me myself being a heavier man, was it a struggle for you to transition, especially in the black community, how we grew up on pork
Well,
chops and
and
fried chicken and all those different things? So,
and that's the thing. Like, I didn't grow up heavy. You know what I mean? I didn't. I weigh more now than I did 9 months pregnant with my daughter. I mean, but my daughter's
Mm,
21. My daughter's
right,
21, but I never had a issue with my weight growing up. But once I had a baby, that's when I started,
yes.
gaining weight at that point. But I do remember still thinking that I remember like being a size 10 thinking I was fat. I do remember that, which is
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, like with me as a 43-year-old woman, I don't want to be a size 10. Like I don't have any desire or like a 2 or a 4. Like that sounds crazy to me. I'm not even built that way in order to
Right.
be a 2 or a 4. Um, and so, I do have an ideal weight in my head, but me, I still eat a lot of high calorie, good calorie ridden foods like avocados because I'm not doing it to lose weight. Losing
Mm-hmm.
weight will happen, especially if I exercise more because of eating a plant-based diet. I do a lot of fasting, or intermittent fasting where I may fast like from evening until like 1 o'clock the next morning, and just have water. I do a lot of that type of things that tend to, I guess, maintain my weight. But I'm one of those like plus size women that I like myself. I could look better, sure, but I'm not following a plant based diet to lose weight. It's going to probably happen more, but that's not. I just don't want to be dead. But I'm 43, so
Mm-hmm.
the way it has happened in my family, that's might only be 10 to 15 more years, and then I'd be gone. I don't want that. So I'm trying to live long.
Well, since you touched on that, I do want to go there. So, how did you feel about the kind of track that the show took when it came to fuller figure women and your interaction with Dietrich? Like, are you attracted to a woman like me?
Mm-hmm.
It was like when we talked to, I think it was Ron. We talked to Ron. It's the show is predominantly watched by women, so it's some touch
Mm-hmm.
points that they touched on, and that was one of the things dealing with fuller
Mm-hmm.
figures and men being attracted.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, Ron and Joelle were my connections that I had, but because I'm not a first or second connection for them. It's not shown. So,
Right.
I'm assuming Ron talked about that. I'm
Yeah, he
assuming I
did.
didn't see it.
He
Um,
did.
yeah, and so but then by the time so then with Ron, I end up moving to being like his fourth connection, which are really not going to show that, not being a fourth connection, right? And
right.
then that means my only vote is Joelle. So for that first 5 weeks, so there's 10 weeks of filming. I was on the show the first 5 weeks, and we started filming back in January. And so only vote is Joelle. So while it's going on, men not being attracted to plus size women, I'm not feeling any of that until you see it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Until
Right.
you
Right.
see it happen. But during my time there, that's not what's going on in my head. But one
Right.
thing I do want to address, because so many people felt like some people understood me, but then some people felt like, oh, that's me showing my insecurities. What you got to understand is we have to vote men off.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have to vote you off, I'm gonna get straight to the point. What's your type? Because we're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
sit here.
Right.
You're not gonna sit here and just talk to me and act like you're interested in me, so I don't vote you off. So
Right.
let's get to the type. And he wasn't doing that. Actually, he was the last person I talked to, and I kind of assumed he wasn't attracted to me because it seemed like he wasn't trying to talk to me. And at this time, they're like, okay, y'all got to go mingle. And then we just happened to be the last two people that weren't talking, because I think at that point, I don't even think they had announced Chris was there yet at that point. So, so we were short a man. Like, we didn't even realize it until like the last minute. Like, yeah, it's not even here, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we knew that, okay, it's going to be somebody's going to get voted off. We didn't know two men were going to get voted off, but we had to give, who we had connections with. So I asked those kind of questions, and then plus size women are sometimes like, a fetish. We get a lot
Yeah.
of attention actually, but the whole thing of whether it's positive attention or negative attention, really only time is going to tell you that. If you decide to get, if a man wants your number, if a man with bad intentions and one with good intentions asks you for your number, and you're not going to know where they're at unless one of them just says something so derogatory that's just going to be in your face, but if they're
Mm-hmm.
both nice and they're respectful, I'm not going to know who just wants to sleep with me and who looks at me as marriage material within a few hours.
Exactly.
Exactly. You know,
Only
so
time will
you
tell you
know,
that.
That's right.
and so you went into the mindset when you got on the show. You went into the mindset. Okay, I'm going to ask all the tough questions because I really want to know. I'm not here to play games. Did you
Yeah.
come on? Did you come on looking for love? Back
Yeah,
up one time. How did you
absolutely.
get on? How did you end up on Ready to Love?
I got a message on Facebook that I thought was spam.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
Like what?
Like what's this,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. I didn't even
And
answer it right away. I never heard of the
what made
show.
you? What made? Oh,
Oh wow.
so you never watched any of the episodes going into your season.
Well, I did
Once you,
once I applied and I knew what I was
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
applying to. Then I watched everything.
okay,
But
and
I'm
it's still,
saying when I got that message, I had never heard of the show. I didn't even have cable. I had, Netflix and Hulu and Prime, but
right.
Mm-hmm.
the only reason why I have cable now is because I was on the TV show. I'm just saying, I didn't have cable.
You know, so once you got the message and realized it wasn't spam, you know, and you watched the episode. Once you got the episode, you started
Mhm.
watching it. You realized it was something that you wanted to do.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this is cool. It seems like, the men, um, they were older. I did like that. I did not expect to be dealing with so many men talking about kids. That was new. Um, I've never dealt with that. Is in my life, like just have all these dudes talking about kids now. Okay. But they were older. They seemed to be, more real. It wasn't any women throwing glasses at each other and drinks. So I was like, okay, I could do this. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing that is different about Ready to Love. You have more seasoned contestants, participants. It's not like, the Bachelor or something like that. You got people in
Mm-hmm.
your 20s or whatever. At this point, you know what I'm looking for, what I'm
Mm-hmm.
about, and I'm not coming with no flim flam. It's like, okay, this is me in all my glory. Either you like it or you don't. What you offering?
Mm-hmm.
People, you should be settled in your career at that point. Hopefully in relationships you should know this is what I like or this is not what I
Right.
like.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so you mentioned that it surprised you that a lot of men wanted kids. So that eliminated a lot of guys for you.
That eliminated me from a lot of guys too. It's both. It's both ways. I mean, I had told them, when we were filming, I think I was like, I'm not necessarily 100% against it, but each day closer to being older forces you to be against it, and it's just that's not something that I'm thinking about having more kids. I'm trying to think. I don't even think I don't think I ever thought about that. Like after divorce, I don't. It's just never even been. It's probably one man. I probably would have had his kid. But I mean, but seriously, like I just haven't been like that in love where I would want to have someone's kid since getting divorced the first time. Like I'm good.
But and you know what else? Um, like okay, so my oldest was 9, 9, and my our middle child was like 8 when
Mm-hmm.
we had our next child. And it's hard to go from everybody independent, they dress themselves, they bathe themselves, and you go back to baby. So that's the other thing too. I know in my mind, I'd be like, you want me to go from 21 back to diapers and formula, sir? No, sir.
Yeah, I don't think about that. And so really, I guess out of Joelle was the only one that was okay with not having more, as far as anybody that I would have been interested in. Yeah. So I'm
With
still
that being
surprised at
said,
that.
Yeah, that it is kind of surprising for sure.
Yeah.
so that limited your numbers. Did you you and Dietrich had a conversation, or y'all went out on a date? Did you think that was his effort trying to stay there? Because the way we saw it was okay. He needs to go out with somebody in order to get on a good graces so he can stay around a little bit longer. Did you feel that he asked you out just to, so he
Or
could
he could
so
stay.
he could stay?
Yep. Exactly. Because look, it ain't gonna be too much romance that's gonna happen at a spice store. I'll tell you that.
Well, and then what we heard too is, and I don't not heard like through the grapevine, but from other interviews, that we had is like some of these dates weren't arranged by the participants. It was like arranged by production. It's like because
Well, if you
Dietrich was like, I went.
remember, yeah, but if I think he said that it wasn't his idea, but if you look back at when he asked me on the date, which is at the group date with cooking, I am almost positive he asked me, "Have you ever been to a spice store?"
Yes,
He did. He
he
did.
did. He did.
He did. And
So, oh yeah, I'm
yeah, he
sorry.
asked you.
I think we got a
No,
delay.
I'm
It's like
sorry.
I
Yeah,
think it's like a
he
delay or
asked you.
something.
So yeah, he asked you, do you want to go to a spice store? And your face was like, you looking like spice store. I mean, I'll go
Right.
out with you. You
Right.
know. So when you popped up at the spice store, what did you think? Like, why did you bring me here?
I think I was assuming that there was maybe something after that, and so my mind was I'm trying to think. I'm like, well, they've never done that before where there was two places, because I mean you didn't see my date with KG, you didn't see my date with Joelle. I had a date with Ron, and all you saw was this spice store.
Yeah, it seemed like they just created the narrative that they wanted to try to force you two together. And as we find out throughout the show, that you had a lot of different connections. That you was on KG's list, that you was on Ron's list, that you was on Joel's list, and that you also was on Dietrich's list. Um, you know, and I know you had said that you had the most connection to Joel. Where
Yeah.
did you go? Where did you go,
Well,
KG?
my number one was Ron. My number one was Ron, and then Joel was second. Joel was second.
Yeah,
And KG was
yeah. I heard.
third. Yeah, until I didn't know KG wanted like a football team. We hadn't even discussed kids. So if I would have known that, you know what I mean, it would have we wouldn't have been on a date either. And I will say that technically, in Dietrich's defense, I shouldn't have agreed to that date, y'all. I just shouldn't have. I just shouldn't have agreed to it, especially because at the time I wasn't feeling like, oh, he's just doing this to stay on. I wasn't thinking that at the time. That was a thought in hindsight, and also something that was said at a group date that we went on. Um, and but with him wanting a kid until he has a son, which means that could be several kids. What's the point of going out with him? Tip. And really, you really need to date somebody younger. If you want several kids,
Right.
Well, I can understand that by wanting a kid until you have a son. Yeah, trust me,
yeah.
I've been there. When you one of the last ones to carry on your family's name, it happened in our relationship. I can understand that.
But I
Uh,
told
Right,
his
but
uncle,
why?
"Hey,
But
we
why?
stopping at 5."
Right, but why date somebody that says I don't want to have any? It
which
doesn't
Absolutely.
make
which
any
is
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is totally true. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's where we got to talk about, we're dating, like the show. Are we dating to get married? Or are we dating to just date? I think that's where the show comes in at. Are we dating to commit to get to marriage, or are we dating just
And kids.
in kids or find a companion?
Yeah.
You mentioned KG. We found out later on that he was on a semen retention program, but he wants a he want a boatload of kids. So unless you want a semen retention program, you got to wait till you get married to have a boatload of kids. And again,
But
it's
then,
the
but
person
then
that
he
you try to
said,
date.
but then he said he don't necessarily have to be married.
True, right? Then he said don't have to be. So who wants to? In essence, who wants to be a baby mama to 11 kids?
Well, and you know what? I don't judge none of that because I mean I'm not so sure I will get married again either. But again, I'm not putting it. I'm not saying absolutely no. It's just that I'm just at a different time of my life where I got married when I was 19, and that was because I was in church 5 days a week, and it's better to marry than to burn and all that. And and my daughter wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have had a child at that time. I wouldn't have had a child and not been married because that's what was in my brain. And so I just looked at things totally different now. So um my point is knowing Dietrich wants these kids, why would I go out with him? And then knowing that I don't want any, why would he ask me out? So both of us was
Yeah.
wrong. That was stupid.
True. So let's talk about you and Ron's relationship. Which they didn't show. You say Ron was your top. What made Ron your top?
And so I mean Ron is just like this traditional, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to protect you. He owns, he has his career. Then what we have in common is being entrepreneurs. He has a couple of businesses, and just so from the first, again, we talk about the first 5 weeks of this. First 5 weeks, I was just like, okay, that's the kind of man that I would want because he would just be like, you he knew he was like you've never been with someone that really would support in what you would do. See, because I always want to be a team. I want to own businesses together and all that. But Ron's more like, I got that. But if there's a business that you have, then I'm the kind of man that I would help you to grow that. I've never even met nobody like that. Not that single. I know men like that and they have wives and they have girlfriends, but just men that are not looking out for themselves. I wasn't I wasn't coming across that at all. So that's what made him the top. And Joel's the same type of person too. He just, is more southern, southern gentleman. You heard me? So
Baby.
baby,
Baby.
they are traditional and not looking out for themselves and what they can get from you, or um and talking sexual, and they're just not those kind of guys. So yeah, so I've always kind of been the breadwinner in every relationship, um and just kind of, I don't know, just being more in charge. I don't want to be in charge of nothing. Okay. I'm not trying to be in charge of nothing. I don't want to be masculine in the relationship. I don't. But that's what would happen. But that's like in the past of what I consider, that's what I attracted. So I put it that way. I don't blame men. That's what I attracted. That's what I dealt with. And so they were the opposite of what I normally have dealt with.
Well, it's good to hear you say that because I know a few times when Alexis would say that about Ron, like because of the way the show is produced, and
Mm-hmm.
what they show and don't show. When she would say that about Ron, you give me these kingly, these priestly, this priestly vibe. You got, and sometimes it would have us like, for real, you get that from him. I'm not getting it, but we don't get to see that side of him. So it's good to hear
Mm-hmm.
you saying that as well. It's like, oh, okay, okay,
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he
Yeah.
was a supportive guy, and and he mentioned that you guys had a very good, deep connection. And
Mm-hmm.
they didn't show your dates that you guys had, but there was a deep connection there because they couldn't create a narrative at the end of production about your relationship.
Yeah. I mean, but and really, truly, like again, I still was his fourth uh choice. So it's like, why would they create a narrative? You know what I mean? This is the fourth person. Like, let's think of it in life. If it was five five women a man is interested in, you want to talk about the fourth? Please. But and that happens in regular life though. And people don't know that they're the fourth. The difference in this, we know. Everyone's dating. It's a social experiment, you know and that's what dating is dating other people, but everybody dates differently. Some people don't date like that. Some people are like, look, if you date me, you can't talk to nobody else.
True.
Yeah, we go together.
Yeah, we go together.
Mm-hmm. Or we
We
don't have a
go together
title,
now.
but you still can't date nobody else. So if I see you out with someone, I'm gonna go off, but there's no commitment, so you can't go off. So
We didn't get to see you at the reunion, right? And
mm-hmm.
because of the situation with COVID,
With COVID,
do
yeah.
you go COVID? Do you wish that you were at the reunion?
Absolutely. 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 And by the time I filmed the little part to say I couldn't be there, the worst part of it was over. But I still, was in quarantine period. So I couldn't come. But yeah, things would have been a little different. I would have had a few things to say, but yes, I wish I was there. And I wish I was there just in general because most of the cast I really like, you know, for the most part, we get along. And so it would, just to be good to see them. And I do see a lot of them anyway. I see half the cast on a regular basis.
What would have been different if you had been there?
Um, I think that they would have actually got a chance to show, um, maybe they may have shown some of the dates. They probably would have showed Dietrich because I think they didn't really talk to him at all. And there would have been a chance for me to say, I think you asked me out to stay on, but I would have said, I should have never accepted. So that, so I take the blame for that because I didn't have to agree to that. Um, I think that I would have got a chance to say that I felt that Alexis was playing games, and she said it was a game and she was winning. And just her talking about how Chris looked like a stripper and all that, like none of the women were doing that to each other. And so that was bogus to me. And so I would have said something about that. That comment with Venetia saying that she was going to slap women, I was there for that. I was having a conversation with her, and it was some other girl pointing at her or something, and she had something to say about that. And that was out of her character. I never seen her even act like that. But I don't know her, so it's not like I know her or something. But she was like saying that Stacy and Chrysanthemum had something against her. I'm like, no, they don't. No, they don't. You're taking it the wrong way. No, they don't. And that's when she made the comment about slapping women. But she said she didn't say that. So now it's becoming this, like, just like Liz and David saying, oh, that's a lie. That didn't happen. It's the same thing. So now she's saying I'm lying. There's no reason to lie. There's no reason to lie. That was a full on conversation of saying that them girls don't have nothing against you, and none of us are dating Joel. None of us, except for they were dating, and that's they were still just got finished filming like a few days before. So at that time, they were dating, but nobody is messing with Joel. It's just a watch party. We are at watch parties every weekend. That's it. That's all you see is friendships. And so that would have been different because we would have talked about that then. Um, and I'm trying to think. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. But I think they didn't show Dietrich at all because I wasn't there, and that was the date. Well, he had a date with Venetia too that they showed, but for whatever reason, they didn't show any of that.
Is the Joel thing the split between the cast? Is the Joel and Venetia situation? It seemed like there's a split between. I'm gonna say the women because the men look like they're tight.
I guess to a certain extent. I mean, I know some people definitely didn't want to end up getting into it with her for sure. Um, but we're all friends with Joel. That's all it is. And then apparently, I don't know how it happened with rumors of him dating other people. It's not true. So we're all cool. We're all together. And so April 2nd was my daughter's 21st birthday, and that's the first episode that dropped. Well, which is really not the episode. That's when you see us introduced, and we had a watch party for that. It was really Stacy and Chrysanthemum's watch party. But then there's some other little riffs too with some with Chris not being on the guest list for one of the watch parties that Alexis threw, so that caused a little something. There's Alexis calling Stacy to ask if Stacy or her are messing with AJ. So there's some other little things that have happened, and you may have seen that already, or either they might have said that if you interviewed them, but they said it on some of their other interviews. So just some of the things that have happened, just here and there. Um, Joelle did a video shoot, and I didn't go to it, so it's secondhand information of just the tension that was going on with that. But he's gonna do his live eventually, and Joelle will clear up some things too. But what people just have to understand though is that we were filmed that a while ago, filmed and wrapped in March. You're not seeing the what do you call it, reunion till that one filmed till May, and then now it's July. It's about to be August. So time has passed now, and for the most part, you know, everybody's over it. As far as like most people are over it, but during filming, it wasn't my first 5 weeks. There was no beef at all. It was perfectly fine. It was an amazing time, and everybody's so professional. They treated us like queens, like the women would be together and then the men would be together, when they're getting ready on set, or to go to set or whatever. So, that whole thing is a lot of hurry up and wait. So sometimes you could be waiting for a while before everything is ready to get done. And so that's when you're bonding, you know, um, and bonded on set or whatever. I'm sure they bonded more so when they kind of went away for the weekend and you have more time to bond with that. But my first 5 weeks was amazing. It was fun. I had some of the places that we went to I had never even been to before in Houston that are a lot of black owned venues we went to. So it was great. It was amazing. And while it was happening, it was a good experience.
Do you feel that they could have streamed you in live into the reunion, where you could have been asked a question with technology, with the money, the budget they had, that they could have they wanted to stream you in, that you could have been streamed?
I don't know. I mean, stream somebody in that only did half the season. I don't know. I mean, but the thing is that finding out I had COVID, that it was the day before filming, and all these that they fly in to show, now when it comes to the reunion, there are there's definitely some people that have to fly in from LA, and then you have after that's shot over a couple of days, they've got other shows to do. So then if you already have a plan, so now you gotta now we talking about like another tech and video thing to try to stream it and to have it interactive. I don't know, that might have been a lot in 24 hours.
Yeah,
You know what
that's
I'm
true.
saying?
Yeah, you
It's
know,
not like
Yeah.
it was 2 weeks. It's like we all had to get tested. And then I pop up with COVID. So now they're like, oh snap. Who else got it? Because they half the cast was just at Tressa's comedy show. So now we everybody had to test again the next day on a day, on the next day. And then they had to wait for those results to come back. And then one that had it. So it'd be different if I had COVID for weeks and then they knew. This is all happening in they would have had 24 hours to figure that out. So
Yeah, that's a lot. I agree. That's a lot to have to do last minute. And you mentioned you testing positive for COVID, and that was another thing that Ron talked to us about, how y'all had dates set up for this and that and the other, and it was a big deal to go outside of that because people had to be COVID tested, and they wanted to kind of keep it, y'all were in a
mhm,
bubble. That's something that we obviously we thought so, but that's something that we didn't
mhm.
know what the show was going on. It's like they try to limit your interaction outside of the cast so you wouldn't have that on the show, that issue on the show.
Yeah, they wanted to capture everything on film and not have people dating and then you're not capturing it, or you're not there's arguments that happen. Like me and Dietrich had an argument, that was off camera. Um and actually they recorded it actually but didn't show it because it was something he said that took offense to at a group date that we had. And so you don't see all of that, but then if you are also developing a bond, off camera dates or whatever, and then now production is thinking that you like one person, and then all of a sudden now it's totally changed that there's someone else that you're interested in because there's other dates that you have in. But we talk our bonds a lot of our bonds that were built over the phone. It just really was. Some of us had a outing here and there we weren't supposed to, but for the most part we were on the phone and talking for hours. you know
so you got a strong phone game.
oh yeah,
That's what we heard.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. You had to have a good, strong
Phone
phone
game.
game and answer them text messages and FaceTime back.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
uh, my other question was, you when you mentioned earlier that you kind of binge watched the seasons. Do
Hmm.
you think that it would have been better for you if you was on the ranch
Resort.
resort? Sorry, the resort more so than being at home, or did you
I
like
think
being at
so.
home?
I mean, there's pros and cons to both of it. I think that being on the ranch, I think that is good because I'm sure they had more time to see each other. But then again, you would have to ask them because I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, "Well, you got to stay in your room." If you're not, I wouldn't be surprised if they would have said that you got to stay in your room until you're on a date. Or so I don't know. I think the resort would be better, but I would have to ask the other cast because we hang with them too. So season 3 is usually in the mix when we would have our parties. Um, and then the other the other con about not being at home is that if you were able to give somebody a lot of attention, even while we were doing it, we still all if there was a job or a business you own, you were not spending that much time that you normally would in it, even with being home. So if you were giving someone a whole lot of attention, that's not really how it's going to be after the show. You know what I mean? Now, if you're one of them good morning text people, okay, that don't, that's not a big deal. But talking to people in the middle of the day, the average business owner or busy lawyer, ain't nobody gonna be doing that. I mean, so I think you can have pros and cons of both of it. But I mean, it was cool though, like I said, to the different venues that we got to go to, and really them showcasing Houston. I thought that was pretty cool.
Now you mentioned Unicast going out. Y'all go out, still hang out with season 3.
Mhm.
Were you booked for season 3 or season 4? Because we see a lot of the cast members said it was booked for this one, season 3, but they couldn't get on 3 through the
I
4. Were you booked for both?
I kind of think I was. I know that we were supposed to after three, like I got moved. I knew I was chosen to do this for almost a year. So I think so. But we were supposed to go to the resort. And like the day after season 3 wrapped, 2 days after that, we were supposed to get on a plane and go to the resort. And then we got a call from one, like they personally called and was like, hey, we're gonna move this to next year. It's like, what? Like my bags were packed and everything. I had, got some new cute stuff or whatever, but it's summertime. And so we were like, it's either gonna be December or January. And I think at the time, was that August? August or September or something. It moved like 2 or 3 times because of COVID.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, was there anybody on season 3 that you like? You know what? I wish I'd have been on the show with them.
No, probably because I know them now. So no. So no, there's no one now because I know them now. You know what I mean? Or know what they like and what they, like what their type is. I kind of can see that by who they date. Or you see the person necessarily match or whatever. But I mean, but they cool. They're cool. They're cool people. They're cool people. Yeah.
So that's one thing we didn't ask you earlier that we've asked everybody else. Before coming on the show, who did you or did you know anybody before?
Never. I didn't know anybody. No one at all. I
You mean
any season.
you mean you didn't know Christian? We found out everybody knew Christian. Everybody knew Black. That was funny to us because
Mm-mm.
he got eliminated, the first go around.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, but Christian is popular like that. I was like, y'all got my
Well,
man.
I think he's a promoter. I know he's a model. He's a promoter. But before the show, I rarely went out like to clubs. Unless I'm doing a show at a club, I'm not in a club. So I'm not a socialite. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't have ran into any of them. Like in all the places that we've gone to, which Ron had promised me, like, look, once this over, you're gonna get out. I'm gonna get you out. And I mean, I go to, pool halls and stuff like that, like here and there. But most of the time, if I'm out and it's at night, it's because there is a comedy show happening there. And that could be a hookah bar or a bar, or some kind of venue or whatever. But the people because of parties, no, not me.
Gotcha. I want to get back on Alexis for a minute.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Did you guys feel because she was in TV and she does production that she kind of pulling some strings in there, just a little bit, or playing the game, just to play the game to stick around? I know you only had 5 weeks experience on the show. Do you think she was maneuvering just to make it to the end?
I she liked AJ. I do, but yeah, it just seemed like it was a game, and she was producing herself well. We teased her a little bit with her reaction when they showed her reaction when KG when they announced KG and she was like and she did that whole thing. And she knows what she's doing. She knows, but it just like the whole thing was saying something about Chris. She knows they're gonna use that. Because you know what I mean? That's reality show type of stuff, that you put that little spice in there. But yeah, it just seemed like it was just a game. It was much so a game. And then it was just weird. Like, the whole her being upset with Amber about kissing Ron, but she had just kissed AJ I thought she kissed AJ like the episode before. So it's just what's the difference? Like I don't get what this dramatic, but it's like a dramatic moment on purpose. That was
Did
unnecessary.
you feel that way more so after like filming wrapped and everything and like the show
Yeah.
came on? Was it like, oh, I'm seeing stuff that I didn't notice because I was in the mix at first?
That and just kind of there was a issue where it was like some rumor that Dave grandkids. And I was on the phone with Alexis, and I was like, we were just, at first, a lot of us were talking because we had to deliberate on the men, just like the men had to do this. So you end up talking to them about different things. And I was like, yeah, and he's supposed to have a grandkid. And she was like, yeah, yeah. But I think what it was, she was doing something and not really paying attention to what I was saying. So I'm thinking she's confirming that. She wasn't confirming that. And so I know I probably said, I know I repeated it to Kyra, like, yeah, from what I understand, he does have grandkids. And so then at the masquerade ball, she tried to corner me on camera and was like, Tressa, I'm hearing that you're saying that I said that David had grandkids. And I'm like, and it's 5 weeks in. So I'm like, okay. Like even at that time, I would be forgetting people's names and stuff. Ow. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, yeah, pretty sure you did say that. And she was like, no, I didn't. And so she turns to him and was like, friend, David, I wouldn't do that to you like that, friend. I wouldn't do that to you. Now, she's saying that, but then on day 2 at the brunch, she told us all David's business, that he had been married twice and the kids he had, and how that was her ex-husband's, friend, and a beware of David type of thing. And it was me, Kyra, and Liz sitting on this couch. That was the second day of meeting her. So now we go from this to the masquerade ball. You want this moment on camera to check me, basically, and calling him friend. But you've been told us about this man business before we were all even cool. So it was just there. Just weird stuff like that. It's weird.
Yeah, it seems a little messy. Even with the instance at the reunion where she's going out on a date with AJ, knowing that he had already selected with Kyra. Just seems some things when you watch back and you look at like, you know what, this is kind of messy because this man is messing with this other woman, and you're calling him and asking him to go out on a date with you.
Right.
That's messy. And then you taking a selfie of you and him together, knowing that he had just sent you home. Just
Right.
seems a little messy.
You know what I mean? Right. And that's the thing. And people saying I did the same thing with Joelle, and no, it's not the same thing. Like, we're friends, like genuine friends. I didn't want asking him on no date. We didn't even talk about going on a date till after he wasn't even talking to her anymore. And because we had always wanted a second date, me and him both asked production for a second date. But with her, good and well that they was talking. So how you get to the point of you DMing him, and already made a point on one of the posts, was like, you don't have his number? So you DMing him, you don't even have his number, you DMing him, and you're asking him on a date, but he didn't choose you? Like, yeah, like it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but I look, I've been that same person. I've done the same stuff. It don't make no sense now at 43, but I've been there. But it didn't make no sense. Like, leave that man alone.
So why do you think production didn't give you and Joelle that second date? I mean, because that would have created another narrative. That would have created a narrative with you and Joelle having that second date with production. Because
at that time, though, I still was his third choice. His second was Liz. So you know what I mean? So just exploring third choices and fourth choices, it ain't first or second.
So but you never know.
I think it is more like a waste of their time to me.
But that third choice could move up to second. But we've seen that happen where people, first in a matter of a day or two, you went from fourth to first or second to third, where it can shift in a matter if you allow people to see those dates. But it would have opened up us, because most people who watching the show, we know that you went on different dates. Most people who watch the show think you only went on one date, that you only had one date and that you was eliminated, not knowing that there was other options. Right. But it creates the narrative for Benicia and Joelle as well, because everybody thought all from day one, his eyes were only on Benicia, but we come to find out that he did like Liz, that you were in his top 3. So now it wouldn't have been, because you have people just taking sides. But if all the narrative was shown, you would have known that, guess what? She wasn't just number 1 from day 1.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it things could change in 24 hours, based on something that someone said or did, moved, how they reacted to something, and it could change, and that's how life is. You know, you could like somebody 1 minute and something happened and be like, okay, this is not the person for me. You know, um, or just like the date with KG was good. I was kind of surprised they didn't show that, but again, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't know that KG talked about us having did y'all interview him?
Now, Ron was
Okay.
telling us that KG talked
Okay.
about in deliberation that you was in his
Okay.
top, and that when during the deliberation that you was
Yeah.
in his top three. But
Yeah.
that creates another narrative too. That if
Yeah.
you and KG went on a date, they didn't show that. I think the show could at least show multiple dates, and then work towards a storyline of who's going to be together, because now it gives you different options and brings a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more drama involved into it. Like, okay, KG does like somebody else. He didn't do what he for his story. He didn't do what he did in season 3, just focus on one person. That he
Mm-hmm.
did date other people, and
Yeah.
you didn't
And
see
have meaningful
and have
connections.
meaningful connections.
Yeah.
So you
Mm-hmm.
just still saw him date Amber, and that was the full story. Instead of dating Tressa or Chrysanthemum or whoever else he dated, that you would have
Mm-hmm.
seen him multiply. I mean, see him date multiple people, which created another narrative.
Yeah. And it's only so much film you got, y'all. You know.
So
I'm just
so
glad they didn't get I'm just glad they didn't get it when I Ron Stairs at this we had a group date in the uh it was at his house. He had a house party, and he has like a really nice jacuzzi tub or whatever. So we get out the jacuzzi tub and it's still wet. Lord, I tried to go down them stairs holding my glass of wine. Child, child, child. Whew, I'm just glad that
but
wasn't
he was
film.
Well, he saved
but
your
he
life.
said he was there for you.
He was there for
He
you.
was there for you.
But they starting to release some of that, because there are some YouTube clips of you guys in the hot tub
Oh, really?
together that own has put out. Yes, they starting to slowly release some of that stuff. I
That was
think
on the cutting room
that
floor.
was on the
Yeah.
cutting room floor. I think Ron talked about that so much that you know what, we got to show that there's footage of the hot tub scene. So they slowly or surely put some of that out on YouTube
Oh,
there.
okay. I haven't seen
I
it.
want to know though, how what kind of date did you and KG go out on? What kind of date was, like, where did y'all go?
We went to a place called Sinful. It's a vegan coffee and dessert spot. Yeah, and they had some. We had some vegan desserts and some. I think I had cappuccino. So yeah, I mean, we just talked. Me and KG would talk for hours. Like you would talk about the universe and metaphysics, and like me and KG we'll go back and forth, and we were the only ones that would at that time that would have those conversations. You know about just like the cosmics and all of that. So yeah, he's fun. I like KG.
Oh yeah.
Would,
He's absolutely a fan favorite for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
yeah.
Which I know a lot of people had a problem with him coming back, for a second time because of that. It's like, oh man.
Right. Well, I
Would you
don't
do
know.
another?
I think they were receptive to it, except for what Ron what Ron called him a niche kind of guy. Ron be saying some crazy stuff, boy. Yeah, that was crazy. Niche
Yeah, niche
market.
market type of guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was like, Ron, because again, I never saw him that side of him, okay, or that statement about I thought you was smarter than that. Like he explained what he meant by that, but still, I've never seen that side of him ever. Okay, so but again, it's only 7 months of knowing the man, so
Right.
Gotcha. And, would you do, as we wrap this up, would you do another reality show about relationships? Would you go on another reality show?
yeah, I would. I just wouldn't do like 90 Day Fiance. I wouldn't do a show where I'm expected to be married in some certain amount of time. Now, I would not do that. Never. Okay, but yeah, I would do a reality show about love. But I prefer it to just be, just me finding myself some love. You
Well,
know.
you answered my next question. I was about to ask you, do you have some love in your life now?
Yeah, I date one of AJ's friends from Chicago. But I mean, it's not serious. I mean, he can date whoever he want to. I can date whoever I want to. There hasn't been We're not, in a relationship. We are dating. So, but that's what I learned from the show. I'm gonna date different men until I choose one. So
Absolutely.
Absolutely. A little
Absolutely.
Chi-Town connection.
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The only thing that I want to like go back to, and we're wrapping it up, is I really the kind of rub that I hate that some reality shows when it's women on there that in the end it ends up being some kind of rub with them. I I hate
Yeah.
that reality does that to us as women. And some women don't realize it's a show. It is some real life, but it's a show, or you make it more about real life, or you forgetting about the production side. And so how do you feel about like my husband said, it's not really a split like in the groups, but it's like, little fires here and there.
Yeah, I think that is just. I don't think it's just this reality shows. That's life. You know what I mean? When you have that many people together. Now, granted, my background is in the hair and beauty industry over 20 years. I'm in comedy, which is male dominated, but I do a lot of shows with women. We don't have those issues because we got to understand it and we are mature. But just thinking about just being in the hair world and whether you working in a salon or own a salon and around women all the time and just all those different personalities that come about. And then, you have so many women that they actually grow up like, I don't get along with women. Women don't like me. I don't feel like that about women. At 40 something years old, if you are not getting along with women, that's you. That's something going on with you. That you're the common denominator and all of that. So, but I just think it's life with just that many different people, and with the he said, she said, and maybe a little bit of people just not talking to each other about it. And then also there is just natural people taking sides. If you develop friends with this person, you're hearing their side of the story more than anything, and so it's a natural thing. If either one of you, if one of your friends that is married right now says that the other person cheated on them, whoever is the friend, you're hearing their side of it first. Now there could be something else to it, but you haven't gotten that yet. So it's a natural thing to take sides. So certain things are split up here and there, and yeah, Joel, I guess, is part of it, but he ain't done nothing. You know what I mean? He just happened to be part of it because of a lie of a rumor of him talking to somebody else when he wasn't. So he hasn't even done anything. You know, and then there's the whole thing with Liz and Kyra and all these other little things here, but it's 20 people, and I just think when you get that many people together, that's just it can happen. It can happen.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, we don't all have to get along. We don't all have to be friends, but that doesn't mean we have to be enemies either. That's life.
Yeah,
everybody's not gonna be friends with everybody, but it
yes.
don't mean we got hate for one another.
Exactly. It's like, and that's the thing. I'm fine with people not liking me, but you're just not gonna say anything to me. You can, and I guess you can talk about me. I mean, I don't necessarily, I mean, especially if it's on your page or your live. I mean, what can I say? But at this age, life goes on, seriously, and you just have to stay positive. If you stay positive, you attract positive. If you stay negative and you venting about everything going wrong and all these haters or imaginary haters, you stay in that. Your world becomes about all that, and it don't have to be. You don't have to be, So, but I'm gonna stay busy. I got a lot going on.
Booked and busy. Yes, ma'am.
Booked and busy.
Yes,
See
ma'am.
that? My other question is the last one here. Yeah. What made your decision to wear your hair out during the show? I know you
that was a wig too. I mean, my you know what I
Poor
mean?
thing.
Yeah.
He don't
I know, but
be
I didn't want to just what made you decide to wear that wig? I didn't want to ask it that way. You know what I'm saying? I liked it. I thought it was
I loved it. It's so flattering.
I loved it.
Well, there are lots of people who hated it. But at the time when I was wearing it, it was a little bit after like the George Floyd incident and all of that, and it was just really all the styles I've been wearing really kind of more so represent how our natural hair is. And so you know, as a cosmetologist, like that's my me being a cosmetologist, co-owning a cosmetology school, an advanced cosmetology school. We actually teach wig making, extensions, weaving. My life has been even like women who have complete hair loss or cancer patients. And so all those hairstyles that I wear, that is expression, you know. And so at that time, that's just where my mind was, just to really showcase the natural side of a look. But also that's what I wore when I interviewed. So in entertainment, if that's what you wear in all your auditions, you don't change it. And I wanted to wear my hair like this. And then so producers were like, we're not going to tell you not to. We're not about to tell a black woman that she can't wear what she wants. But you were chosen for when they saw you this way. And I almost changed it, but I decided, just to go ahead and keep it because they were right. And I really don't, this is like my first time. I don't want to piss nobody off. I don't I That's how you saw me. That's what I presented. So let me just go ahead and go with that, And yeah, I've got a lot of people, men and women, that were like, well, you probably would be on longer if your hair was different, if it was straight, all kinds of stuff. And it's just like, look, if a man doesn't want me based on my hairstyle, I don't want him.
That's
So
right.
He must not have
that's
been around a lot of
crazy.
black women because he must not have been around a lot of black women. We changed their hair for the regular
Variety.
variety.
Yeah, but I didn't really show a lot of variety. I wore two different wigs. Um, and on another podcast, somebody was like, "Well, why don't you wear your real hair?" And I'm like, "Well, me and my daughter accidentally cut it off, trying to take out some small locks that I put in my head before." But other than that, this is what I do. Like my cosmetology school, this is what we teaching. So I showcase that, and have so, and because I want to, because if I don't want to wear my natural hair out, then I don't, but yeah, it just in my bio on Instagram, my businesses are there. The Marcella Ellis School of Cosmetic Arts, marcellaellis.com, or Marcella Ellis Corporation, which we have two different product lines, and then the cosmetology school. So yeah, you can always see me in extensions and weaves and everything. We teach that. That's my life's work, not something I just started. This has been I'm 43. So I've been licensed in the field since I was 19 years old. So that's my life's work. Comedy comes second.
Glad, glad.
We have so much in common. I mean, I don't I've never been in the salon or whatever, but that absolutely, when I finished high school, I finished and I got licensed as a cosmetologist. And you know, I don't know how long you had these, but we've got that in common. I was like,
All
I
my
like
life.
Tressa
Yeah. All my
coming with
life.
the girls. The
Yeah.
girls is on, yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I laughed
I've
at
had
your
those
I
forever.
laughed at your live. Yeah, I laughed at your live the other day when you was like,
The double
these
H's.
titties just tittying.
Right.
Yeah, they
And,
doing what they
and did you
do.
see? Did you see people offended by that? Talking about you gonna attract the wrong man. I'm not trying to attract no man. I'm just being silly. That's me being silly. That's how I am. I'm not worried about attracting no man. Okay. I'm just saying the titties be tittying. Okay. That's it. And one of the comedians, she was like trying to start this free the nip movement. And
Oh,
Well, well, she dropped off there for a minute, but we're gonna sit here.
hopefully she come back on.
Oh yeah, hopefully she come back on. She dropped off for a minute, but with that being said, I really enjoyed the interview with Tressa. Here she
I'm
comes
There we
back.
sorry,
go.
Here we
y'all.
come back now. There we go.
I'm
Oh,
sorry,
no
That's
y'all.
problem. No,
okay.
we good. We were just
Yeah. Well, we were
wrapping.
just
Go
talking.
ahead.
Yeah, we were wrapping up. Well, I was just saying, I was just being silly on the live, and people had an issue with that, but whatever. So silly.
All right.
I block
Last
people
game
though.
we very
Block game strong. They get a block game strong. Gotta be.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what? That's one thing. Have you did you run into that too? I think when you go on TV and reality TV in particular, like people that watch the show feel like they keyboard assassins. Like I sit in my house and I look this way, but I can take the time to talk about you and what you do. And I'm bold enough to say it behind my keyboard, things that I would never say to your
Never say
face.
in person, that they would never say in person, and they just keyboard bullies, just bullies. And I don't respond to bullies. And that's the thing. I'm not about to be bullied into nothing and all of that. That's just, it's crazy. And then people recognizing me is crazy too. I had my Instacart, my groceries delivered. And the girl, I go downstairs because sometimes they act so crazy about the directions to this place. So I go downstairs and she's like, "Oh my God, I know you." And my brain doesn't even register what she's talking about. Okay. And I was like, how? I'm thinking, she's about to talk about comedy maybe, or the hair industry or something. She's like, weren't you on that show? Then I think she said something, Love Island. I was like, no, not Love Island. And she's like, Ready to Love. I'm like, yeah, that is true. Now, if I go somewhere with that Afro wig, everybody know who I am. If
Mm-hmm.
I put that Afro wig on, they know. But it really was it was like when I put that wig on, I'm like, that's my people. And it's I don't know. I don't know. I love it. I love it. So a lot of people hated it. And they tell
Yeah,
me
I
they
like it.
tell me they hated it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they help themselves to express themselves for sure.
Mm-hmm.
hey, I know we could do this for a long time, but you're a busy
Yeah.
person. We appreciate you for stopping by. Thank you for your candidness. Thank you for being open. Thank you for just sharing your experience on Ready to Love. Before
Yeah.
we leave, anything that you like to plug or anything that you like to promote? I know you talked about your
Yes.
businesses, your hair business. Also your vegan thick shirts because you talk about vegan thick. So those things that
Yeah.
you've done. So go ahead, opportunity.
So I mean, well, I don't know what's going on with my website right now, but if you go to teespring.com and you look up vegan thick, just put in vegan thick in the search of the stores, and you can get vegan thick t-shirts, tank tops, phone covers, leggings, all kinds of stuff, socks, in all different colors. And then my businesses are in my bio. So if you want some great products, vegan products that are for your hair extensions or for hair types 1 and 2, or serious moisture, that's our Grow Me line. And that's for hair types 3 and 4. And both those in the cosmetology school, we do 2 week and 4 week classes on weaving, extensions, wig making, and braiding in over 100 locations across the United States. Those uh, companies are in my bio, Tressa_Ellaby on Instagram. And then in the link in my bio is Lady Bits. If you're in Houston, I've been producing Lady Bits comedy show for 2 years before pandemic. It is Houston's first and only all-female monthly comedy show in the history of Houston, all female comics, but everyone is invited in the audience, of course. So support the women. That's in the link in my bio, and that is at the Secret Group downtown Saturday on July 24th. And then we'll be doing Nitra's show is Uncomfortable Truths at Rudyard's, the Riot. And so that's also on the Riot, htx.com. That show is the 30th. And what else am I doing? That's it for now. I'm working on something to tell y'all when the next Women Crush Wednesday show will be. I co-produced that with Nitra Babin too as well. So we got some more shows. It's like the whole female comedy takeover that's about to happen, especially here in Houston. But we're gonna come to Jersey soon. So we got some plans. So make sure you follow me though. Tressa, TRESSA_ELEBY.
I told y'all she was a boss. She stays
I
busy.
love it.
Not much
Yes,
I
more than
love
just a
it.
comedian. She's a boss, stays busy. Hey, Tressa, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Once
you.
again, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all.
I know.
Yes,
Appreciate
ma'am.
you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell notification. Don't miss any more of our interviews. And once again, want to tell Tressa thank you and have a good night, ladies and gentlemen. Hit the
Thank
subscribe
y'all.
button and the bell notification. Bye-bye.